That's set up. I'm going to make sure the audio is working. Which it seems like it. All right. The chat's up. Shut that down. Let's get the script up. Oh, where'd my script go? There we go. Good morning, everybody. It's been a week. We are late this week. Apologize. Dealing with the American medical system. All right, that looks like it's going good. Everything else looks like it's going good. Let's light this candle. Welcome to Divided America. I'm George Sisca. Last week, I brought back this show, and I told you I did not want this show to be I did not want this place to be where someone just reads a press release and repeats anonymous quotes and just calls it journalism. We're going to look at what the powerful people have to say, compare it to what we can actually see and tell. Tonight, we're gonna begin with the aircraft carrier that everybody's been talking about, right? The USS Abraham Lincoln. I'm gonna bring it up on screen right here. That right there. It has been out in sea for 10 months. The war is with Iran. Roughly 5,000 sailors and Marines are aboard that ship right there. Their families, if you've been paying attention, their families say that the deployment has been bringing shortages and failing sanitation, exhaustion, and a mental health crisis. Now, the mental health crisis part, I don't know if you saw, there's been sailors that have jumped off the boat, right? They're not jumping off the boat to go swim. The Navy and the senior officials dispute parts of the picture. The official language is readiness, resolve, and mission success, right? That's what Secretary of War Pete Hegseth says all the time. The human story is what's happening below deck, and when a floating city cannot go home. They've been out there for a long time. But from there, we're going to go follow another paper trail. Pablo Torre's reporting on Kawhi Leonard, Steve Ballmer, and the Los Angeles Clippers. Their reporting there raises basic questions. Can $28 million be called an ordinary sponsorship when the player apparently did almost nothing publicly for the sponsor? And at the end of the show, we're going to bring out these children's books that we have behind me. They are from our last three presidents, Barack Obama, Joe Biden, and Donald Trump. They're from the same publisher, the same series, and the same 24-page format. They're three carefully compressed versions of American Power. These stories look unrelated: a carrier, an NBA contract, and three books written for children. But they're connected by one question. What gets left outside of the frame when powerful institutions tell us the official story? So what went wrong with the USS Lincoln? I'm an avid listener of the New York Times podcasts, The Daily and Headlines. I highly suggest listening to them. You have to use a little bit of media literacy sometimes where the frame is going, but it's a good listen. And the New York Times podcast, The Daily in particular, examined the situation earlier this week with Pentagon reporter John Ismay. Family members have been sounding the alarm. Reports describe inadequate food, trouble getting basic supplies, broken or restricted showers, toilets, and sailors struggling under psychological weight of extraordinarily long stretch at sea. Let's talk real quick off script about deployments, as I spent a good year of my life in Iraq in 2003 with no toilets, no running water, one bottle of water a day at times, because logistics is king. Logistics, logistics, logistics. The reason why these soldiers, these sailors, apologies, do not have adequate supplies is because they're stuck on that ship. Right now, that ship is supposed to be refueled, resupplied in Bahrain. Why isn't it being refueled and restocked? Is it because our all of our bases, well, virtually all of our bases in the Middle East have been destroyed? They've been wiped off the earth by Iran and their missiles. So now our sailors and Marines, they are unable to get adequate equipment because we can't port. And if we can't, and now you're thinking maybe there's other ports, right? They can go. Now, if you port that aircraft carrier anywhere within Iran's missiles, it's a pretty large target to hit, and it's not going to be easy to defend. So that is why, one of the reasons why our poor sailors and Marines are struggling so much on the Lincoln. Now, there is an update this morning. The Lincoln is coming back. It was reported by the New York Times this morning that the Lincoln is on its 10-month uh, trip back. It's just asinine. It really has. Now, there have been alarming reports, like I mentioned in the opening, about involving sailors going overboard. Right, that's mental health problems that you can't deal with. You can't deal with in underwater for 10 months with no food, no contact to your loved ones. You don't know what's going on at home. Now, the Navy says everything's going well, right? Pete Kegsethi says everything has been going great. He said we should not exaggerate them and we should not erase them. The acting Secretary of the Navy issued a statement saying the crew crushed their deployment, that their ship will return home as part of a planned rotation, and that sailor and Marine safety come first. That's the official statement. Now put that statement besides the family sentences. Their loved ones are depleted. Some report substantial weight loss. Some describe mold, plumbing problems, poor food, long waits for mental health help. Because imagine trying to get any help when you're underneath the water. They're also afraid of speaking publicly. Imagine that, because they would be retaliated by this administration and by the sailors. Two versions of the same ship. Above deck, readiness, resolve, mission accomplished. Below, fatigue, uncertainty, and families begging for someone to listen. This is where journalism has to do more than choose the quote from the person with the highest rank. The government has the access to the data. It knows the supply logs, maintenance records, staffing levels, medical visits, deployment extensions, and the identity of every official who approved them. If the reports are wrong, release enough evidence to show it. If they're right, fix the conditions and tell the public how this happened. Trust us is not evidence, especially during war. And it should not be evidence in sports either. Now, the war without an ending. We talked about this. This seems to be people don't like when we say forever war, right? You don't like it, but it's been a pretty long time. It's been nearly 6 months. 6 months since we started attacking with Israel, and there's no settlement. No, gas is up as high as it can possibly be right now. The naval blockade is still going on. The White House says the strait is open and operating. Shipping data and the oil market tell a different, more complicated story. The traffic remains dramatically distributed, and the world is pricing in a prolonged crisis. This is the part Americans cannot allow to become background noise. A war cannot become normal on television long before it becomes sustainable in reality. This, again, coming from someone that spent a year in a theater of war. The uniforms will look sharp, the jets will still launch, the briefings still use words like posture, readiness, pressure. But a military is not an inexhaustible machine. It is the people, parts, food, sleep, maintenance, family, and time. It's logistics. If you don't if you don't handle my troop in particular, the logistics would not let our equipment go through Turkey. So it had to reroute through Kuwait, which really screwed up our timing of invasion and the actual amount of food, water, and supplies that we had during that invasion. Now, if official answers family members with branding instead of records, that tells us something important about the leadership, right? Now, if a league built on competitive balance cannot clearly explain whether a billionaire owner found a private route around the salary cap, that tells us something important about that league. Professional basketball is obviously not war, right? It's we're going to transition here. But the habit of institutional power is very familiar. Let's narrow the question down. Issue the clean statement and hope the public stops reading. Pablo Torre did not stop reading. We're going to play a quick clip from Pablo Torre Finds Out. We reached out to Meadowlark Media and to Pablo Torre. We were given permission to play this clip. So thank you to Pablo Torre and Meadowlark Media. We are going to listen to Amin Al-Hassan and Pablo talk real quick about a little bit about what's going on in the NBA. If you haven't been following, if you want to see what real journalism looks like, it's what this man has been doing right here. And the basic allegation is easy to understand. It's Kawhi Leonard was the Clippers franchise player. Aspiration was a green banking company with a massive sponsorship relationship with the team. Steve Ballmer, the Clippers owner, personally invested $50 million into Aspiration. Leonard's company, KL2 Aspire, signed an endorsement agreement worth $28 million. Torre's reporting alleges that Leonard did essentially no public promotional work for that money. I mean, it alleges we haven't seen any promotional work, and that's the deal functioned as extra compensation outside the NBA salary cap. Let's listen to Amin on that.
Cannot rationally be explained. This is what we're talking about. First of all, I would love to hear the rationale, again, of, hey, why would this company that has never engaged in this sort of marketing all of a sudden decide we need a spokesperson to sell what? And the spokesperson has to be the dullest human being imaginable. I'm going to go back to Article 13.
Amin is bringing up the CBA on his iPad.
Section D, and it says, a violation may be proven by direct or circumstantial evidence, including but not limited to evidence that a player contract or any term or provision thereof cannot rationally be explained. This is what we're talking about, right? With all of these things, because I talk to people in the NBA, I talk to people, agents and people, execs for other teams, and even media people who cover the team and say, I mean, what are you talking about? There's nothing wrong with this. So there's a company and they're sponsored, they're paying them. What's the big deal? And I said, when you lay it all out, we say, can we rationally explain this without using, hey, cap circumvention as the reason? I've yet to hear one good explanation. And that was for Aspiration, which
at least had a track record.
Had other celebrities
Right.
that they were paying.
We do this and we get big names to do it. You're telling me that however many years Daktronics is, call it 40, 50 years old,
Almost 60.
Almost 60 years of being in business. They're going to change their policy, their whole approach to this, and they're going to start with Kawhi Leonard. I just told you that they're the foremost Jumbotron manufacturer in the world. You know how many teams they work with? How many stadiums? They have their pick of the litter, and they went with Kawhi Leonard, who then never does anything. They don't even put out a press release.
There you go. I mean, nothing. How do you get $28 million and then do nothing for that work? And then also get another contract from Daktronics to do no more work. It just does not make sense whatsoever. So the NBA has not issued a final finding on the Clippers' violation on that agreement. But now let's read the rule that what Amin was talking about. Let's see if we can bring it up. It's going to be hard to bring up. You know, I will put the rule in the comments when after this broadcast, because in plain English, it's the question is not whether Steve Ballmer personally handed Kawhi a check, right? The question is whether the team, an affiliate, or someone acting for either side use another agreement to provide compensation tied to Leonard's services as a player while keeping it outside his official contract. And now this distinction matters because the public defense keeps collapsing the issue into the narrowest possible question. Can you prove Ballmer personally funneled the money? You're never going to get that. You don't get Tony Soprano giving Joe Schmo, the Joey the Schnoz, the money directly, right? It goes through someone else. Now, Article 13 asks a broader question. Was the salary cap bargain circumvented? And this is where Amin El Hassan put his finger on one of the most important phrases in the entire agreement. Right? Section 2C says an unauthorized agreement, here we go, can be proved through a direct or circumstantial evidence. It even gives an example, evidence that a player contract or one of its terms cannot rationally be explained without the prohibited contract. Rationally explained. Keep going back to that language. Now, that language is not a magic wand. It does not say every strange sponsorship is illegal. Technically, 2C's example refers to a player contract or a term that is a term of that contract. The sponsor-specific language that is in 1B, which also discusses whether outside compensation substantially exceeds the fair market value of the services. But Amin's question is still the right journalistic question. What is the rational, non-cap circumvention explanation? It's that simple. Why would Aspirations secretly agree to pay $28 million to a superstar, to anybody? Forget Kawhi Leonard. Why would you pay $28 million to anyone to do no work? Why would Daktronics, a business-to-business scoreboard manufacturer that is known for not celebrity advertising, and then they needed Kawhi Leonard for an undisclosed multi-million-dollar spokesman, right? We wouldn't even known about this Daktronics stuff if it wasn't for journalism. Now, maybe there is an innocent commercial explanation. If there is, the Clippers, the sponsors, and the NBA should have been able to state it clearly and support it with records. They've had quite a bit of time. But until then, we found no personal check from Steve Ballmer. Does not answer what Article 13 actually asks. The Clippers say their conduct was ordinary and their allegations are wrong. but the clear statement does not answer the underlying questions. Who negotiated Leonard's sponsor agreements? What did the Clippers promise? What did the sponsors expect? What work was required? And what work was performed? And why were the Clippers employees reportedly trying to get Leonard to do something, anything, for another team-connected sponsor? In the latest installment of Tory's investigation, he obtained emails involving Daktronics, the company behind the Intuit Dome's enormous scoreboard, the Halo board around it. If you have never seen it, it's ginormous. It's quite bigger than the ones at RIFC. According to the reporting, Clippers marketing personnel repeatedly tried to help facilitate Leonard his obligations to that sponsor. Oh boy. Now, that doesn't itself prove aspiration deal violated Article 13, but it does challenge that comforting picture of a team that merely introduced the player to sponsors and that had no involvement. Oh boy. This is why we do journalism, right? Now we're going to take a super quick break, and then when we come back, I'm going to bring these books for a quick gander. All right. We will take a quick break and be right back.
Cannot rationally be explained.
And we are back. Let's start with this one. The Lincoln story lives in the maintenance logs, deployment orders, and messages from home. The Clippers story lives in contracts, creditor lists, and emails. This last story tonight is, well, today. Oh, it's always funny when you think you're gonna do a nice show and then family emergencies happen throughout the week, and then you have to do your show at 10 o'clock on a Friday morning. The last story today is printed in much larger type. 3 books. These books are designed to make history understandable to children, and that is a worthy goal. But every short story about power must decide what to include, what to soften, and what to leave outside the frame. And after the ship and sponsorship agreement, you see those choices become easier to see. Let's start with Mr. Obama. Now, in chronological order, we're going to be going, and I want to be fair to these books before we get into them. They are children's books. They are not congressional investigations. They are not supposed to contain every failure, scandal, or contradiction of the administration. But that is exactly why they are useful. When space is limited, every inclusion is a decision. Every omission is too. That rule does not stop applying when the books get longer and the readers get older. A press statement is also a frame. So is a corporate denial. So is an anonymous leak announcing that investigators found no evidence before investigation is finished. This is Barack Obama by Rebecca Pettiford from the Bellwether Media Blastoff Readers. Their American President series. They're all 24 pages, level text, photographs, a map, timeline, and a question for the reader. I ran into these at the Cumberland Library. I read one, and then I saw they had a whole bunch. I'm like, I gotta check this out, see what they're teaching our kids. And the marketing gives us the frame even before we open it. The first black president. I don't know why I said that. A kid who, oh yeah, there it goes. A kid who grew up in Miami. I'm sorry, a kid who grew up in Hawaii. A man who likes basketball, comics. Those facts are true. They're also do something politically useful. They make power friendly and familiar. It's likely what we don't see. Let's see. Let's look real quick. Let's look at your favorite. See how he studied at law school, and he loves his favorite food is chili. And I mean, it's pretty interesting, some of the stuff they put in here, right? His hobbies, his sports. What I don't see is the Affordable Care Act, which everybody knows as Obamacare. The drone war, deportations, Libya, the expansions of a presidential war making without the declaration of war. I didn't see that in here. It mentions achievements and consequence, but this is more about personality. I don't get it. It's nice. It paints a nice picture. This is Joe Biden by Alex Monroe. The same bellwether media series, same 24 pages, level 2 format, first published in 2021. The publisher's summary gives us the frame. Decades in the Senate, 8 years as vice president, and a long accumulation of political experience on the journey to becoming 46th president. Now, that word experience, it does a lot of work. Let's see the path to presidency, right? Who is Joe Biden? Right, he's the president. He was born in Pennsylvania. He was bullied, right? He loves his pets, his food, his movies, and his sports. A lot of stuff as a child. Path to presidency. Here we go. You see, he passed laws for gender equality. He worked for, and here's the question: how did being a senator help Joe become president? It loves asking questions and tells you things, but it doesn't tell you everything. It tells you the path to presidency, but it doesn't mention the 1994 crime bill. His vote to authorize the Iraq War that we talked about earlier. His part in the Obama administration with the deportation and drone policies. I didn't see anything about Gaza in here either, which if you are paying attention, one of the bigger political issues in the Democratic Party. We didn't like what you did there, Mr. Biden, or what you didn't do there. Gaza, questions about his age, his capacity at the end. Decision to seek another term before he didn't even give Vice President Harris a chance to really campaign in time. Doesn't make the whole book false, but it makes it a frame. And this is what we've been talking about. Frames matter because most of us remember the picture without remembering to choose the edges. And then our final one, Donald Trump, by Alex Monroe, the same bellwether media series, same 24 container, first published in 2021. The publisher decided to describe this president, as the path. Remember, we talked about the path for Joe Biden, the path for Obama. This one, I think we all know his path. He was a reality star. He was a slumlord. But let's see his path. Where has to start? This one started a little different. He was the president when the coronavirus pandemic began. Here's his path. He was born in New York. He went to military school. Okay. And then we get the food. Like, we get his book, foods. Like, I get that kids might want to know this. But really? Here's his path. His time in office. He passed immigration laws. And he left the Paris Agreement. He was impeached. He abused his power as president. Okay, so the kids are being told some stuff, right? They even have January 6th in here. That's pretty cool. Well, the kids learned about that. Did they know that one of these guys is running for office in Rhode Island right now? Hey, Vic Meller, if you're watching or ever watched this, you were there. You shouldn't be running for office ever. Now, the book doesn't have everything, right? It doesn't have his second term, which has been off the fucking rails. I try not to curse here ever, but this second term has just been, it's been painful. But we learned that his favorite movie is Citizen Kane. What is that teaching a kid? Is your kid going to watch Citizen Kane? My kid sure isn't going to watch Citizen Kane. And I've been trying to teach my kid about cinematography and movies and drama. So we're gonna end the show because well, quite frankly, I need to go see my mother in the hospital. She broke her leg this week, and this is what I was saying. There was a family emergency, and when you're a little older, it's not easy to deal with a broken femur and a replaced knee. So we'll be dealing with that. We have Rhode Island Football Club this weekend on Saturday. The game is tomorrow at home in Centerville Bank Stadium versus the Monterey Football Club. I'm going to ask any of them if they went to the Mucky Duck or Britannia Arms down in Monterey, as yours truly spent 2 years in Monterey learning Russian. Now, I skipped a lot of the script that I wrote because it's nice. It's nice to read, and I'll put it up on siscanews.com. It'll be there for if you want to read everything that I wrote. But I decided to go off a little extemporaneously as I normally do, and I'm just trying to find the way I tied it together at the end. Because the truth is usually down in the machinery, right? In the carrier's maintenance log, a sailor's message home, a bankrupt company's creditor list, an endorsement agreement, an email from a marketing employee, or a carefully chosen sentence in a 24-page biography. The stories we tell children matter, but the stories we tell ourselves can send them to war. They can also convince us that rules apply equally in a country and a sports league where money keeps finding a private entrance. I'm George Sisca. Thank you for watching.